clear understanding that President Kennedy was killed by William Greer, the Secret Service agent driving his limousine in the motorcade. These documents disclosed to me that the people involved in the assassination of the President were the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Secret Service, Division 5 of the FBI, and the Central Intelligence Agency. The reason stated was that he was a security risk, that he had ordered them to stop the sale and importation of drugs to the American people, and that he had ordered them to develop a plan to disclose the presence of extraterrestrial visitation to this Earth within the following year. He had also ordered a printing of legally constitutional silver-backed money, which is not in the best interest of the world bankers or the power structure or the Federal Reserve, which is not an agency of the federal government, but is a private corporation run, and the stock is held and owned by bankers, most of whom are European bankers controlled by the House of Rothschild. They pay no taxes on the national debt that we pay them and the money that they earn from the interest. So they were dead set against the printing of this money. Kennedy had also discovered what the CIA had been doing for many years. You see, being president, you get to open a lot of drawers that nobody usually gets to open. And he had informed the CIA that he had intended, and he said this publicly, by the way, that he intended to disband the CIA and scatter it in 1,000 different directions. So you see, he made some pretty big enemies. And there were some pretty powerful people who thought that he needed to be killed. Many of you saw this and found this out for the first time today. How many of you are upset by this? I am. I have been ever since I saw those documents. I've been terribly upset. In fact, in my book, I enclose parts of my service record in the appendix. You can see the exact day that I found out that the Office of Naval Intelligence was involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. I went over the hill with no intention of coming back. It was my good friend Robert Swan who talked me into returning so that I can do what I'm doing today. He said, "Bill, you can't help anybody if you're in jail, and that's where you're going if you don't go back." So I went back after 8 days. But you can see the exact day in 1971 when I saw the document that told me who killed President Kennedy. Let's take about a 5-minute break. Let's take a 10-minute break. Bobby, please, we're going to get started again. I'm going to show a videotape of a UFO. You're not going to want to miss this because it's extremely rare footage of what they call a mothership, a cigar-shaped craft.
Close that door.
I meant to say this in the beginning, but forgot all about it. For those of you who have ordered my book, all the paperback books that were ordered have been sent. They've been sent for over a week. So if you ordered it and haven't got it, it's probably in your mailbox right this moment waiting for you to come home, or will be there in the next couple of days. The hardback books are printed, but they are not bound yet. They will not be sent for another 2 weeks. To be gotten to the bottom of very quickly. And that is is some people are coming forward and telling us that they're being abducted by alien beings and taken aboard their spacecraft. They're literally helpless. They can't move. Their clothes are taken off. They're given medical examinations. Some people are operated upon. Samples of their tissue is taken. Sometimes sperm and ova is harvested. Sometimes females are impregnated. It's all medical fact that these things are happening. It is not a joke. The only question is, was it really aliens and were they really taken into a spacecraft, or did something else happen and this is a planted story that's been put in their mind to disguise it? You see, this is a classic thing that they do in brainwashing. If they want to cover something up, they just put a different memory in your mind. Now that sounds difficult, sounds impossible, but if you go read the books that have been published by people who have participated in mind control experimentation, and the documents that have been released under the Freedom of Information Act, this is not a joke. They can do it, have done it, and will do it again in the future. Now, if this is a hoax, if it's the biggest hoax that's ever been perpetrated in the history of the world in order to create an alien threat from outer space in the consciousness of humanity so that we'll accept the elimination of the sovereignty of nations, the destruction of our Constitution, and will accept a one-world government wherein we may not have the freedoms that we have now in order to face this alien threat together as one humanity. If it's a hoax, that means we're being manipulated on the grandest scale in history, that people are being hurt, that their minds are being screwed with. And if this is happening, we have to find out if it's really happening. We have to be able to gather enough facts to prove it, and we've got to stop it. If, on the other hand, these are really extraterrestrials that are doing these things, we have to find out why. Because these people are being implanted with very small devices, about the size of a small BB, that are literally microchips in the brain. What is the purpose? I don't know. Can these people be controlled through these implants? I'm going to show you the locations where these implants are put into the brain. They are easily detected by MIR CAT scan by anybody who is a medical professional adept at identifying foreign bodies in the human body. So, aside from the obvious reasons why we should be looking into this, those are some of the other reasons why we should be looking into it. If the New World Order is so benevolent and so good for us, why is it that we have to be coerced and manipulated into it? Because this isn't the only coercion that's going on, if that's what's happening. Now I'm going to preface what I'm going to say next, because I'm going to talk about the war in the Middle East for a few minutes. I'm going to preface what I'm going to say next with this statement. I was in the military. I'm a veteran. I support the Constitution and the government of the United States of America and will fight anyone who attempts to overthrow it or destroy it. I am for our troops in the Middle East. I am for them. I hope that not a one of them gets killed. And as long as we're engaged in battle, I hope that we win. But I'm going to tell you right now, we are not there for the reasons that you've been told. And let me give you a little history of this. Number one, George Bush comes on television and tells you that we have to send troops to the Middle East because Hussein wants to raise the price of oil and we can't afford that. That's what he said. It's on tape. It's documented. Next, he says, oh, it wasn't the oil that we sent the troops there for. It's because Hussein was not going to stop with Kuwait. He was going to go into Saudi Arabia. We're there for defensive purposes. People questioned that. The next statement came from Baker, James Baker, the Secretary of State, who said, we're not there for